Good morning, good morning. Hope everyone's doing good. Let's see what we have today. Alright, so today we're gonna take, I think we did back escapes last time. Today is gonna be back attacks. And I'll quickly recap everything we did on Monday briefly, and then we'll move on to today's class. Let me just check if everything is running. Turn this one down. And perfect. Here. Alright, so we had a look at back escapes last time. Main thing was knowing the difference between the strong side and the weak side, so we can kind of think about our escape before we're even there. Again, the weak side is the one with the underhook. The strong side is the one with the overhook. Our strong side strategy was to get the choking arm, which is the arm over the shoulder, over the top of our head, so we can start escaping easily. So just quickly show the first one. So there I'm just trying to bring that arm over my head and get out of there. Weak side strategy is commonly taught. We just want to get our back to the mat and kind of push our way out. Focusing on the legs a bit more in this one, so you don't get caught in anything. Then we had our only one hook strategy. This is where someone taking your back, but not fully. They haven't got the points yet. We want to avoid both hooks in, so we minimize the space, and we start barrel rolling to prevent the person from getting our back by getting our back to the mat. We can roll either way, doesn't really matter, but just avoid that second hook from coming in by spinning a little bit faster than your opponent. Moving on to double underhooks. Best thing we said was to bridge onto the person and just do our weak side escape from it, get our back to the mat. Because essentially the person has double underhooks on you, so you can pick whatever side you want to go to. Double overhooks, this is, you're not going to get across this that much, but if someone tries to choke you the wrong way, slide down their body and roll up on top. So again, I'm just blasting through these because we did them on Monday. Moving on, we have the armbar counter. Someone's framing your head, try to catch their hamstring there. And you can do any armbar escape you like, but that's just kind of the quick one if you know an armbar is coming. If the person does the wrong rear naked choke, you can grab that arm, swim underneath it, and start escaping to the weak side. This is our gi scenarios. We had a bit of submission counters. The first submission counter was a bow and arrow, or the armbar, and now the bow and arrow. Bow and arrow one, try to break the grip that holds you in place and spin. That one's quite a lifesaver if you've been caught in bow and arrows. And one last tip that we said in the counters lesson was noticing people's seatbelt. If they're grabbing the seatbelt the wrong way, you have access to their wrist a little bit easier, like that. Okay, so if you are the person attacking, the choking hand should be underneath instead of over. But moving on to today, our back attack lessons. So we're going to look at, again, the weak side and the strong side and our options from there. First of all, make sure you guys know the correct way of having your seatbelt. So this is it. So if someone was to strip your grips, they would have to deal with your top wrist first, which leaves your second wrist to go for chokes. Again, this is the wrong way. If my wrist is the other way around, I can't choke her with my other arm. So getting the seatbelt, that's your first kind of little lesson in terms of beginners. So now we get into the chokes. So I got my seatbelt in position here. I'm going to use the top wrist to start grabbing the lapel, and I'm going to open the lapel to feed my other hand through. If you see that, boom. And this is where people get a little bit kind of impatient and this, just settle for any grip they can find. But this is a thumb in grip that's going around her neck as deep as I can behind her neck. Now the second bit is just the adjustments of the lapel. So I can take my second hand there and I can pull the lapel down to slide my wrist up, or I can go to the second lapel so we can start our cross collar scenario. Now this is the single wing variation, which means as she starts hand fighting my choking grip, I'm going to take my underhooking arm, which is this one, and I'm going to kind of loop it around and take her arm away from me and put it behind her neck. And that just means she's going to have a harder time fighting with this arm. So again, I go for the choke, she starts defending, I take her arm towards me, then I put it behind her head so we can do a nice kind of cross collar choke. I'll show it one more time. Open the lapel, adjust. You feel her fighting your grips. Use your single wing. There. Here's the most common one, the standard cross collar choke. So in this case, we take it to the strong side again. So these are all kind of strong side options. We feed the grips just like we did before, and we take the opposite grip. Now this is the bit that's a bit people tend to forget. Instead of, we're going to draw this elbow like a bow, but try to come up on your elbow first, because that will give you a bit more leverage to pull on the grip. And now I'm using my wrist instead of my whole arm to finish the choke. That makes a big difference. So come up on your elbow and then pull it across. Now say single wing again. Whoops, shouldn't be single wing. We already did this one. Is it the same one? Yeah. Bow and arrow on the strong side. This is probably the most common choke used. But again, we're gonna feed the lapel. For the bow and arrow, the grip doesn't have to be as deep, but it's the leg work here that's gonna make it a nice bow and arrow. So first of all, I've got to bring both of my legs to one side. That's what gives you kind of the bow and arrow position. My top leg is trying to kick or hook any of her grips while I'm controlling her legs so she can't spin. If you guys remember, her counter is to break this grip here and spin towards the choke. There. Grab the trousers, bring both your legs to one side, and then basically just a pulling motion there. The most common thing that goes wrong with our bow and arrow attempt is we don't take this leg out in time, and the person kind of ends up on top of it, leaning on it, which means you can't get it out afterwards. So you see how I'm bringing it above her shoulder so that she doesn't my leg doesn't get stuck underneath. But yeah, because if she bridges on top of that leg, then I'm gonna have a hard time kind of finishing her. Now the bow and arrow can be done from both sides, the strong and the weak. So it's quite a versatile finish. Arm triangle. So this is the choke I kind of suggest whenever you're kind of losing the back hooks, or you've attempted to do your chokes but you just can't get anything going on. So in this case, I'm gonna dismount from the back. And again, I don't want her leaning on top of this leg, so I'm gonna flick her off and roll up to my knees. There I'm gonna set up my arm triangle and hopefully get a finish. But again, hook the leg, kick them through, and shoot that arm as deep as you can and start kind of using your chest to finish the choke. Again, the time I use this, I wouldn't go for it straight away, is if she does a good job clearing this hook for some reason and I feel like I'm starting to lose the back, this is a good kind of reset slash last submission attempt that you can do. There, flick leg, and roll up on top. Moving on, so those are kind of strong side attacks, right? So these are all leaning towards this direction here, going for the chokes. So to recap the strong side, we had single wing choke, which is just hand behind the neck, threading it through. We had the standard cross collar. So here I set up my grips. I look for the cross collar, get up on my elbow, and try to use my wrist to finish instead of my whole body. And I bow and arrow from the strong side. Take your legs out of the way first of all. Make sure someone doesn't start leaning on top, and kind of pull that through. And then our last ditch move, which is the arm triangle. If we're starting to lose the back, we're not feeling too confident staying there, kick the person away and either reset to take the back again or set up an arm triangle. So moving on to the weak side options. This weak side is kind of more, you got a few more options there, so that's the side that most people tend to lean to. So here we lean to the weak side. There's a couple of things to talk about. One is the head positioning. My head must kind of always be underneath hers for the optimum position. I got my seatbelt in place, and if you notice, my legs kind of go into this what we call triple threat position, or you can body triangle as well, so you can force a triangle depending on the size of the person. But it's a good way to start your attacking chain right off. When you lean to the side, you do the leg work at the same time, like that. Now we go into the back system. Again, I'm looking for the cross collar there. We have our first stroke, which is the cross collar. Again, we have the bow and arrow choke. Like I said, we can do that from both sides. The weak side is a little bit easier because your legs are already in the perfect position to set up the choke. And then we get into kind of our no-gi slash back system variation, which in no-gi we're gonna have to do a lot more kind of hand fighting, because we don't have access to the gi. And the one arm choke is probably the most common one. This is where I use my underhooking arm to trap a wrist while I fish for this choke underneath here. Now the sequence goes, so we call this a standard kind of isolation move, which is just where I'm attempting to do this one arm choke. I'm really going for it, trying to get my hand underneath her chin, and the only arm she has free to kind of fight it is this arm here. And she's gonna be kind of pulling your wrist, trying to stop you from getting that hand underneath the chin. While she's doing so, she's probably pulling on your arm towards this direction here. And I'm gonna take that energy of hers and just go with it by pushing her wrists. And I'm gonna start isolating her arm. So now you can see both of her arms are kind of stuck there, and now I can start going for my choke. And we call that, I should put it here, standard isolation. So one more time. Make sure you do your correct leg work. Go to body lock or body triangle or triple threat. I isolate her bottom wrist every single time. Get into a habit of, as you fall to the side, control one of the wrists. I start threatening that one arm choke. She starts fighting me with her free arm. I'm just going to use that energy to push her arm down and isolate it. And now I can go back to my choke. So that's our one arm choke. We're finishing with one arm, just like a standard cross collar choke where you're trying to crush and pull the grip towards that direction there. Try to hook the back of your fingers towards the back of the neck, and it should be a good solid choke. Moving on, another weak side attack would be the armbar transition. So again, I go to my triple threat position here. She starts hand fighting. I control her bottom wrist just like before. And this time, to go for the armbar, I'm just going to frame her head away. There. Pass my leg over, and there's our standard armbar. Now there's many ways to set this up, but this is kind of the traditional old school one, where you're just separating her arm from her body. There is a race between her grabbing her own wrist but if you're quick enough, you're either going to end up with an armbar or her with her arm's length. Then you're going to have to break the grips. So one last time without me talking. That's our armbar setup. The last little chain is a triangle, and that's where the triple threat comes from. So we have the chokes, the armbar, and the last one is the triangle setup. So this one is the bit complicated one, but again we set up our triple threat position with my head underneath hers and controlling her bottom wrist. Okay, again get into a habit of doing that. I start going for my one arm choke. She starts hand fighting. This time I do a different kind of isolation. This is the one where I trap this arm instead. So it's going to be a bit tricky, but if you can see this, here I'm controlling, this is my hand, I'm controlling her bottom wrist. I'm going to switch from the bottom wrist to the cross. So there, I take the cross grip instead. Then I'm going to pass it to my other hand, and I'm just going to have a 2-on-1 on this arm to completely isolate it. I'm going to use my legs afterwards to trap in place, and there's the triangle position. I sit up and I start escaping my hips to the side to lock up the triangle. So again, here I trap this top arm with both hands. I give her a little push just to get her body down enough so I can get what we call a backpack strap, which is just my leg right over her shoulder. Cross my feet, sit up, thread my leg through, escape my hips a little bit, and then you can lock up this nice triangle. Now this whole chain can be done like a little sequence. That's why it's really good. So you could attempt the one arm choke. If that doesn't work, you can switch to an arm bar. And for some reason, if as you're trying this arm bar, maybe your leg doesn't go over the top, or she does a good job stopping you, you could thread that leg through and go for the triangle instead, which is this sequence. So that tends to be the reason why people like the weak side a little bit better than the strong. You can see there's a lot more options, and pretty much half of the options that we had from the strong side is on the weak side as well. But I think there's a little bit better control and a lot more options. So to recap everything, on the strong side we have kind of our choking side a little bit, where I'm just looking for collar grips or rear naked chokes or one arm chokes. There's our single wing, cross collar choke. I should put the cross collar one before. Cross collar. We have our bow and arrow. And kind of last ditch position, the arm triangle. So here, flicker off, try to get up on top. And then from our weak side, this is the golden side, standard choke. We have our weak side bow and arrow. Feed the collar, grab the leg, and just throw your legs over the top. One side arm, this is our standard isolation drill, where we control the wrist, start looking for the choke, she defends, trap the arm. We have our arm bar transition. There's one little thing about this one arm choke, which is quite nice as well. Often they kind of hide their chin away, so you do have to get a bit nasty by trying to thread your kind of knuckles underneath your chin. But the thing that helps the most is using your head to kind of open the person's neck up. It takes a bit of practice, but once you get good at it, you'll be able to get the one arm choke most of the time. Armbar transition here. Control the wrist, push ahead, armbar. And last one, our triangle. Now you can see I kind of sit up here. When I go, I don't try to go for the triangle straight away here. And that's just because there's not enough room for my leg to go through. So always kind of sit up first. And then you can grab your own shin. You can't see it from the angle, but I grab my own shin and I pull it through to make it easier for me to set up this kind of triangle scenario. Show it one more time. So this is the arm that's gonna grab my shin. Not that shin, sorry. This shin here. There. Boom. Sorry, this is the arm that's gonna grab this shin. Pull it through, shrimp, then lock it up. And from here you have several other options to finish. So you can push the head down, you can start attacking this arm with kimuras, you can grab their leg and kind of leg lock them at the same time. Okay. So it's kind of it's probably one of the hardest positions to kind of escape in terms of submission, I'd say, once this fully locked triangle is in place. Very sneaky. Yeah, the reverse triangle is probably stronger. I'd say it's a bit stronger than the regular triangle in terms of you've got a lot of last little options with the normal triangle than you have with the reverse. So any questions about those attacks, just let me know. If not, we'll be moving on to the little breakdown of one of the rows here. But again, just to summarize, for beginners, strong side, weak side, that's your kind of language you need to learn in terms of back control. Know the moves from your strong side and know what moves you can do with the weak side. How did the right leg, is that from the triangle? I'm guessing. Is how this leg became. So I was confusing you earlier probably. But if we go, so right now, right, we're doing exactly the same chain as the isolation, okay? So in this case, all I'm doing here is I pretend I'm going for a choke and I just use it to trap her arm like this. This is where it kind of starts being a triangle, okay? Now for the triangle to work, I need this arm to be out of action, right? Because if you think about it, a triangle is basically one arm is missing and you lock up. So I'm gonna use this foot to kick this away, then I'm gonna cross my feet there. That's a triangle set up already. So if we were in closed guard, let's say, this is where we cross our feet and we have the triangle set up, but we don't have it quite locked yet. This is where this arm's gonna do half of the work now. Yes, that's right. So this arm here is gonna do that thing that we do when we lock up a triangle, where we grab our shin and we pull it towards us, right? And we change the angle. That's pretty much it, but upside down and kind of rotated 90 degrees, if that makes sense. So here I sit up because it makes it easier for me to do this, and you can't see it from the angle there, but all I'm doing now, I'm grabbing that shin, I'm moving my hips just like I would in closed guard, and now I can lock up this reverse triangle. So you can kind of imagine it here. So there, if I just thread this leg through this gap, I end up in a triangle. But yeah, if I pull up, it's a bit harder to see, but if I pull up one of our triangle lessons, where is it? Backscape, this one. Collar and sleeve. Let's see, front side triangle. Here it is. So this will be our kind of normal triangle where we have our feet crossed. I pass the arm around. I grab my shin or head and I lock up my triangle. But the triangle we're doing, instead of me being here, I'm on this side. So everything is reversed. My triangle is towards this side. And it's a whole different position. But you can just see kind of the similarities between them in this position. There. But they're both extremely powerful. Cool. Any last questions before I move on? If not, we have where is it? This little cripper. So another one of our rows that I'm gonna just break down and write down some things that we did wrong or right, no problem. Just to see our progress on one of David's here on his rows. But I'm just gonna pull up something so I can write down the notes. But let's see what kind of mistakes we both do on this one. So right now, Dave is trying to set up some of his guards. You can see he kind of goes for this underhooking kind of weighted position. Just on this bit. And I instantly take my leg away as soon as he does it. That's just because I don't want to get entangled with it. I'm just gonna, the quality is a bit bad, so I won't put it in full screen. He goes to sit up guard here, grabs my leg, and he's trying to sit up. He does a very good job there. You can see I was trying to hold his leg to stop him from getting up. But he managed to slip out of my grip, and he gets into a single. Strong single here, pushes up. And he's trying to lift and flick my leg. I do a little jump just before he trips me, so I was able to stay in base. Again, that little hop that I'm doing is the anticipation of him trying to kick my leg there, so I just flick up. I do a couple of bunny bounces and we kind of reset. I do a little quick jumping pass. I'll quickly go over that. It's a good, it's quite a good pass I like. But here I'm controlling. He's playing collar and sleeve guard. And as soon as he controls my sleeve, I'm getting a very low grip on his belt. And I'm gonna use my elbow there to push his De La Riva hook away. Now you can see he doesn't have ankle grip on me, so it's not a normal De La Riva he's playing. That means that this leg is free, so I can do a little hop over the top and get into a nice kind of position. He recovers by a Granby, which is a little bit too late, but he does a good job recovering there. I sit down, I go on my knees to see if he's gonna play butterfly. Look for the underhook. There he goes for a butterfly kind of attempt. But here's the first real mistake I'm gonna write down, which is he forgets to control my sleeve when he's going for this butterfly sweep. So you can see he has my sleeve here. He goes for the sweep and then he lets go of the sleeve to kind of set up. So he just causes a little scramble, and it ends up a little bit bad for him because he loses the scramble. Recovers really well with our Gramby. Gramby is something we've been working on lately. So there's a really nice Gramby he does to recover the guard. Sets up his spider. Now again there, he's a little bit too slow controlling my foot. And this is just the timing thing. Every time he lets go of my sleeve to go to control my leg, I'm just taking my leg away. So right now, because I'm standing quite tall, he goes for my leg, I take it away. Gets a nice lasso sweep attempt here, where I back away. Goes for another butterfly attempt. Here I'm trying to go to a knee slice position. He's doing a very good job having his foot on my shoulder there. Trying to get rid of that foot on my shoulder. Takes my leg. Very nice entry here. And he pulls 50-50. Now again, this is just because I'm aware of his moves. But as he tries to get me to 50-50, I kind of take my knee line out and I do a back step to set up a berimbolo attempt. But I just end up on top. Spider the lever. Let's see if he grabs my ankle this time. This time he changed strategies. So nice. He's trying to go to a one leg X entry there. Tries an overhead sweep. That's a good combination by him. This is from our passing sequence lessons that we've been working on. Same side knee slice. He goes for a nice little octopus kind of half guard here. And right now I'm trying to choke. Now here's the first mistake I do. I hug too much. He could sweep me to the side, which I mentioned later to him. He doesn't quite know that sweep in this row. So I'm able to set up this for a long time. There, that's the sweep that he could have done to me. Again, he does a silly mistake here. He could have just rolled up on top quite easily, but he gives me a Kimura trap instead. I hunt for the back. And you might see the back system now. Does a very good job stopping it. Gives my back away again here, but manages to scramble out, which is very good. Sits up. Butterfly attempt again to a triangle. Very nice. I managed to duck underneath. Goes for omoplata there. Very nice following me with his omoplata. Very nice off balancing there. Beautiful. Just managed to scramble out of the way. Now I have a double here into a single. And I think that's time. Very nice little off balance sequence that he did there. So as I was trying knee slice, he flicks me to this side, then off balances me to the other side. Just a little bit more control on me, he would have swept me there. And then I just recover with a single at the end there. So a couple of things for us to work on. For him is his turtle half guard and his Granbies. For me is I get off balance quite easily, is I'm not leaning my weight down in a lot of these scenarios. So hopefully by the next session we'll be able to fix both of those. But that's it for today, guys. So next week, I'm not sure what we're gonna do next week yet, but I'll keep you guys updated. Any questions about any of those techniques or rows, just let me know. And again, if you want any of these PowerPoints, just send me a message and I'll send them to you so you guys can look at it. If you got any rows that you want me to review, if you're still rolling or comp footage, just send it towards me and I'll have a look at it, and we'll look at it in the lesson. But have a lovely weekend. Take it easy, everyone. And bye bye. I'll see you guys on Monday. Take care. See you, Sean. Take care. No problem.